A tough market, tough prices, good demand. And I think that if it weren't for the fact that prices stink and have been down in the dumps now for 2 or 3 quarters, and that the second round of red ink is going to flow through as the companies report their quarterly results, we'd have to say that with other things that are happening in the business, it was the dawn of the golden age of memories. I think there's a lot of very interesting stuff happening. Part of it is companies, this shift from being a PC-centric, very regimented market to one that's very much more diversified, that services the consumer market, and then the influx of NAND, which is kind of a companion to that same movement, and the rapid decline in price and broadening of applications. So there's a lot of very interesting stuff going on, and it's hard to see the forest for the trees when you can get a 1 gig DRAM for $1.80 and an 8 gig NAND flash has gone down 75% in the last 12 months. And we've seen a couple of companies report already. They've reported red ink in the first quarter and followed it up with more red ink in the second quarter. So there has to be a rebalancing of the market because, as Ed Dollar said, we're in this to make money, that the business proposition has to be there. The quick agenda for my presentation, a little bit of the market snapshot, market drivers, PCs become consumer, and it's getting a little fuzzier now than it was a couple of years ago as this first started to take off. And it's a gradual process, but clearly it's underway. I was impressed with Ed's slide that showed DRAMs being 90% of the bits, since 1990, and then all of a sudden NAND flash is 75% of the bits. You could run that chart back to 1970 and it would look just the same. DRAMs has always been the dominant play, and out of the blue comes NAND flash. So there's some big changes going on there. On the DRAM front, we're going to talk about the DDR3 take-up, which is very slow. And even though it has performance and power benefits over DDR2, it just isn't there yet. And we're looking at really a significant impact about this time next year. Low power DRAMs in their varied forms and low power technology that's permeating the broader DRAM product market is a very, very exciting area, and we'll talk more about that as we go forward in the presentation. NAND flash has been the big topic of conversation very strongly for years and years in the industry now, as it's come up very fast. NOR flash is still a significant play. It's a significant play in cell phones. And you can see that some of the NOR flash manufacturers are looking at different applications to port that non-volatility and low power into new applications where they can compete with DRAMs. So that's kind of some interesting trends there. We've got a single slide on other memories. They're mostly legacy memories, but the whole market is dominated now by DRAM and NAND flash, with a kind of a subtext there with NOR flash. First 2006 compared to 2007, and the whole industry grew a little bit, a couple of percent, from 248 billion to 255 billion. The memory market was about the same from year to year, and beneath the fact that those numbers are the same almost from year to year, there was a profound shift in profitability. So in 2006, the industry was relatively profitable, $5 or $6 billion after tax profit. In 2007, the tide was turned completely, and they lost $3 or $4 billion. So even though the revenues stayed the same, it went from black to red. The industry had to ship. The memory industry had to ship twice as many bits in 2007 to get the same revenue that they did in 2006. DRAM showed its biggest growth year in about 15 years, 90% bit growth year over year, but the prices went very far south. NAND flash had its traditional 50 or 60% decline in price and 150 or so percent growth. So it was a very, very difficult year and a very poor year for financial performance, even though they managed to generate about the same amount of revenue. Going forward, we've extrapolated in 2008, and this is, I first set this slide up in the early part of the year, and I've been tweedling the numbers ever since. It wasn't clear as we rolled into 2008 how big the impact would be for the economic problems in the U.S. So that total semiconductor number was smaller and the memory number was smaller. As we moved through the year, it became more and more clear that the semiconductor industry was actually pretty healthy and continuing to grow. Semiconductors without memory is probably going to grow 11% this year, but the memories were taking it down because of the price erosion and the low prices in DRAMs and NAND flash. But even in my successive iterations here, I've kind of boosted up the DRAMs. It doesn't look as bad as I thought it was going to in the first quarter. And the big trouble is confined to those two markets. And it's not that the demand isn't there. The demand for gigabytes or megabytes is definitely there, as we've seen in everybody's presentation today. But the fact is that the prices are down so far from where they were, what the median was last year. And even though there's little hints of price stability, it's never sustained. So it's going to be a bad year. The second quarter is going to be bad. We're going to see more and more companies report their second quarter over the next week or two. The third quarter will definitely be bad, but I think as we roll, there's been a lot of capacity cutbacks and capital spending cutbacks, and as we roll into 2009, if the economy is helpful, then the memory market could recover significantly. In spite of the heavy capital spending in 06 and 07, that the industry is running at a very high capacity utilization rate, and that in the event that demand starts to accelerate, that the industry would not be able to respond to it. So that's the flip side of what we have now. So that would tighten up prices and kind of give the memory guys a chance to make some money for a while. The PC market is very rigid, regimented. The performance of memory in a PC is somewhat constrained by the architecture. In the consumer market, it's more run and gun, Wild West, quick turn product cycles, and more willingness to use non-standard products. There's a lot of differences, and you can also put DRAMs on the left side and NAND flash on the right side, although that's not quite so clean, and will get less clean going forward. The one line at the bottom is kind of where the consumer really meets and the consumer attributes really meet the compute attributes, and we have a lot of these small computer. Qualcomm had a couple of new little nomenclature that I hadn't heard before, but there's a lot of activity in the industry for portable, pocket-sized computers, small tablet computers, 4 to 6 inch, and these are not bound into traditional PC architectures. They're not bound into using DRAMs, PC DRAMs. They're not bound into using Microsoft operating system or utility pack. So there's a lot of differences down there, and the numbers, those are markets that are 10 to 20 million units per year this year, depending on what you count, what you include in it. So it's still a small fraction of the total, but it's certainly the most active part of the market.